Hey everybody, and welcome back. In this video, I'm going to show you a couple drills to how to finally feel the real transition that Mr. Hogan was making. Now, this could, apply to the modern swing, but not really, guys. So, what you really need to do is make sure that you go back and watch some of the other videos, because really this is how Mr. Hogan did it, and this is how we on this channel are doing it. So remember, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button, but even if you're not, hit the like button, because it really helps the channel grow, and I would be, greatly appreciative. First of all, what we're going to need for this, we're going to need 2 dowel rods and a club. Pretty simple. So what I want you to do, you guys have seen me many times talking about the 90, if I can get it, the 90-degree angle that we need to have in our setup. So what I want you to do is I want you to take 1 dowel rod and put it on the ground there, and then make the other dowel rod and put it on the ground like that. Okay? And when you look at it, you need to make sure when you stand on this side of it that you can see the 90-degree angle. Now this is extremely, extremely important, because once I have this 90 on the ground, it's like, oh, okay, cool. There's no straight lines in this. And many of you have heard me talk about where we don't want to feel like we're swaying the club out. So this may confuse some of you, but I hope it doesn't, because what I want you to do, remember, when Mr. Hogan's set up, okay, so he's in his setup, everything looks fantastic. We know why all this stuff is centered and all these different things. Well, when you move this club up and in, you're automatically going to see how it's following this geometry from this perspective. Okay, but remember, some of you have asked the question of, why does Mr. Hogan have his foot back, or why is this one back? Well, if you start looking at it logically, if he moves this foot back, guess what he's lining everything up to? The right side of this 90-degree angle. If I move the foot back, he starts getting everything in this line with the left side of the 90-degree angle. Okay, so here's the drill to really understand the transition. You have to think baseball. You guys have heard me talk about it 100 times, because baseball is like a really, really big deal. Well, let's say that the pitch is coming this way, and I'm standing at the plate. Well, you can see from this perspective, I'm not turned like a golfer would be. I'm just not in baseball, right? Because if I got turned this much in baseball, I'm going to be in a world of problems. But from right here in baseball, I can just, I'm sitting here, I'm waiting for the pitch. Here it comes, I trigger, and then I'm going to make my movement. But see this movement, because I'd be on this plane, the 90 would be helpful, but I'm trying to hit the ball this way, so I get here and I'll come into it like that, okay? But now think about this logically for a second. In baseball, I just said a batter wouldn't get here and then try to hit a pitch. When they trigger, they'll get here. But watch this, as a baseball player, if I got here and I said I was gonna do this ridiculous thing of getting here, now my chest is on this side of the 90-degree angle. Okay, very, very important to understand. So to feel the correct transition in the golf swing, we're going to now feel like, oh my gosh, I'm on this 90-degree angle. So remember what I was talking about a second ago. Baseball players here, they're not here. But if I stay in this position, now we know that Mr. Hogan drops his right foot back. But what I want you to do, from this position like a baseball player, step your left foot to where you're parallel with this 90-degree angle. And then from there, and what you're trying to feel, it's not so much what the club is doing, it's what this trail shoulder is doing. So how does this trail shoulder get to where I'd feel like I would swing on this line, which would be the 90? So the trail shoulder, that's what that's gonna feel like. Okay, so now what I want you to do is put your left foot back. Then I just want you to the top of your backswing, and I want you to feel what it's like to swing on this line out here. okay? But then when you put this in, because it's not my hands that I'm worried about, I'm trying to get you to understand this trail shoulder, how it starts working in this geometry. And when it happens, because like the baseball player, he would be here hitting, he wouldn't be over here. But to understand the correct feeling in the transition, you've got to feel like it's going, because look what would happen if I move my foot here. I'd swing just like this. I'd be just like that every single time. But if I move the left foot back and I'm like in this golf posture, now it's like, oh, to feel the transition, it's that same move that I would be making if I was like this. Okay? And this is very, very important to understand, because the transition itself, here we've gone up and up. Well, let me do it right, guys. We're set up like Mr. Hogan. We've made our, little bump. Then we rebound off of that. Then we're coming up. We've got our cup. And then we're at the top. So now it feels like from here, I'm looking there. This is why everybody thinks swing out, but it's not with the club, it's with this trail shoulder. It's so tight to the body, but to feel it correctly, it has to be going, oh, feels like it's going there. Then all of a sudden it just goes, whoop, right into the ball. So this is very critical to understand. So let's look at this. Okay, so now that I've got my body turned and this is what I want you to do. And really this club has nothing to do with it. It's what would this trail shoulder do like this? See how it's going down this right side of the trail side of the 90. Well, now let's back this up. I get here. Now it's like, okay, I'm here. So now it's like, there it is. There it is. And when this trail shoulder starts attacking that 90, it's like, aha, the transition. There's the transition. I'm not spinning out my hips because I'm tilted forward, but I'm right here and I'm like, okay, the baseball player, if they stepped here and would have to hit it there, that's what we're going to feel, but it's the trail shoulder, it's not the hands. So then all of a sudden we're like, there we go. Now all of a sudden, when I do this with the trail shoulder, look at the load that it creates in my trail leg. Look at the stability it's creating in my lower body. This is where most people think you get the squat, right? Because now it's like, oh, I know the golf ball, I want to hit it this way, but it feels like my right shoulder, or trail shoulder, is going like this. But the only way it can do that is to start going down the right side of the 90, period. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, see how I'm not extending my hand like I'm hitting? It's just the shoulder. And when I move this shoulder down that line, look what happens to the trail elbow. Look at that. It's staying tucked, staying on the side of my body, come into impact. All these wonderful things are going to happen. All right, everybody. Hopefully we'll be able to, see this kind of well too with the dowel rods on the ground, because I got that 90 degree in front of me. So all of a sudden, I move my foot like this and I'm swinging down that line, right? But if I stay here and I go to the top and I just think about the right shoulder, look at how much the club shallows. Right there. And then all of a sudden now it's get to the left side of the geometry, or the 90 on the ground, and it's just spectacular. But a lot of people think, this is important, a lot of people are like, Hogan took this club inside and then he did this little figure 8 type of this with the hands. In my opinion, where that is grossly misinterpreted, and I'm going to catch a lot of slack for this, okay, is that when Mr. Hogan would get to the top, his hands would be back here. But then because he's attacking the right side of this 90, watch where my hands go. Like this. Now I'm going to attack that right side. Look at how my hands went from this spot, and then because I started attacking it, look how it looks like they slightly come over the plane. But it's not, because everybody thinks the OTT or the over-the-top move and all this stuff, it isn't what Hogan was doing. And like I said, I might catch a lot of shit from a lot of people, but I really don't care right now. So all of a sudden what's really happening is when he gets here, because remember I talk about the 7.5 degree shift in the downswing plane, all he's really doing is letting his hands find the downswing plane. So it's not his shoulder that's coming over the top, it's the hands just find the downswing plane. And now, because of what I'm showing you with the transition, use that right shoulder to be able to come this way. Look at how far this club is behind me. And then all of a sudden now, everything in some of the drills we've done, everything's gonna start getting to the left side of that 90. I put my hands down and look how everything is staying in its orbit. Then it disappears and then I come up to the top. So this really, you've got to understand the geometry on the ground. And everybody talks about the geometry like they think they know it, but I'm telling you right now, when it comes to the geometry, there ain't nobody better in the world than this channel, okay? And I mean that with all my heart. So when you can understand these 90s, you've got to start saying look at how the body's just moving on this. And because all of a sudden I'm up here, I'm not going to do anything with my hands and try to drop them down. I'm not going to drop them in the slot and then try to turn. All this ridiculous crap that we know is nonsense from the people that watch this channel. But here's the beauty. Watch my body. I'm here. I've gone to the top. Now all of a sudden I'm going to take this trail shoulder and I'm going to pretend like I'm hitting a baseball on this line, but I'm going to do it with my right shoulder. Oh, and as soon as I get there, remember I told you the drill where we step here and we learn to release it, right? Because it's got to happen from the right leg. So all of a sudden when I make the transition, that's it. And then that's it. So see how these angles kind of look the same as what Mr. Hogan did in that slow motion drill where he's giving the clinic. It looks like that. It looks like he's going like this, but it's not. It's an illusion. When you can get up here and say, attack the right side. So I'd be square here. I go to the top. Now it's attack the right side. And when I do that, when I attack the right side of this geometry, look how my head stays here. But what a lot of people do, they get up here and they do all kinds of stuff, and this head follows the left shoulder. But if you can honestly get this feel of it's this trail shoulder working the right side of the 90, which then is just going to make everything work so sensational, it's not even funny. Because watch what happens. I'm square. Let's pretend the ball is right here at the point of the 90-degree angle. I'm here. Went to the top. I see the ball. Now I'm going to take my right shoulder to right there. It's just right there till my hands are on the outside of my right leg. And then all of a sudden now I'm turning it to see how the shaft is matching up to the left side. But as I'm doing this, my hands will roll down. It's not me trying to get my hands to come down and hit the ball. It's not me trying to hold on like this. It's just honestly work this 90, let the hands roll down, and look at the bend in my leg because I'm supporting all this stuff, guys. But the key thing to fully understand, if you really want to start hit, you think some of you are hitting the ball great now, when you can get this concept through your head that, okay, so if this was baseball, I'd be here, and then I'd turn it here, which now looks a lot like the golf swing. And then all of a sudden I rebound, work that 90 with the trail side of the 90 with the right shoulder, and look how these hands and my elbow are just staying in orbit and everything that we've done, because we've talked about the orbit of the elbow, how the elbow's got to win the race. The reason that I say I feel like the elbow wins, is starting to win the race in the transition, is really because of the right shoulder. The right shoulder. See how that elbow looks like it's moving first, but it's this right shoulder and this right elbow. The elbow working on the orbit, the shoulder working down this right side of the 90, which then as I come through, look at this natural side bend that I'm in, and I can just throw this thing right to the top. If you really want to understand this, the best tool in the world, and I mean it, is this 90-degree angle you can put down on the ground in front of you. Why? Because it gives you a visual of this is what we're trying to do. See how I'm matched up? Then I go to the top and it's like, oh, okay. So there'd be geometry behind me if you saw the videos with the box. But you have to start seeing what you're doing. The more you can see these lines, straight lines, believe it or not, the better your golf swing is going to be. Because when you attack the straight lines, the only thing going in a circle or an arc is this club head around the tilted spine. And when you can start understanding these things, even more beneficial than just learning how to do the transocean like Hogan did, what's more beneficial is you will stay in your spine angle. You'll never raise up. You'll never go into early extension, all these things. So I implore you to please put the 90-degree angle down in front of you and realize there is not a straight horizontal line in this configuration. And when I do it right, and I've turned correctly like we've learned, and then I rebalance, and now it's this trail shoulder and this elbow staying in the orbit, attack the right side of the 90, then when the hands are on the right side of the leg, let it go. Just let it go. And it will absolutely amaze you. Hope this helped. We'll look for you in the next video.